Hi everyone. I'm going to here cover some major sort of legislative changes in the Omnibus bill, which is the budget bill that passed in Congress recently. I think if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that there's no sort of prior knowledge needed to understand these videos, and there's also I also try my best not to take any sort of ideological stance. I try to be neutral and just sort of present the facts. So let's get right to it. So the first sort of big change to the Omnibus bill has to do with trade derivatives. So what are derivatives? Derivatives they are bets. They are bets companies make on basically anything. And so sort of to understand the broader context of what's changed with derivatives, let's go back to 2008. 2008, there was the housing crisis where housing prices went down, as I'm sure some of you might be familiar with. But what's lesser known about 2008 is that also companies had bets on the prices of houses. And so they had a lot of money in these bets, about $70 trillion or so in derivatives. So when the housing prices went down, so did the values of these companies' bets, so did the values of these derivatives. It went down very drastically to about, rough estimate, $1 trillion. Now, these companies, they don't just take bets. They also have insurers who are ready to back them up in case their bets fail, like it did here. But what happened in 2008 is that no insurer had enough money to pay so much money to companies. Like, no insurer had, no insurer had enough money to pay back the companies for the losses they suffered. They didn't anticipate such a gigantic decline in the values of bets. So that made these companies that took these bets, they basically went broke because the insurance companies didn't have enough money to pay them back. And so the reason why the financial crisis of 2008 was so bad was because financial institutions, they couldn't lend any money to anybody because they were broke. And this combined with a decrease in housing prices made the 2008 recession quite problematic. And so let's fast forward to 2010. In 2010, the Dodd-Frank Act was passed, which was aimed at sort of fixing some of the problems that happened in 2008. So the Dodd-Frank Act basically said, some of it said that companies, they used to, in 2008, they could directly take derivatives. But now, companies before taking derivatives, that's 2010, companies, they couldn't just take it directly a derivative anymore. They had to go through an intermediary institution before they wanted to take a derivative. That way, if the value of the derivative declined, the company itself wouldn't be that directly affected, which meant that taxpayers wouldn't have to bail them out as much. Now, let's fast forward to now. So what the Omnibus bill did is the Omnibus bill said that companies now can directly borrow derivatives. And not only that, the FDIC, which is part of the government, will insure these derivatives. Now, the FDIC is not taxpayer funded. It's funded by these, very same companies whose derivatives it's insuring. But the FDIC also insures, because it's part of the federal government, insures taxpayer deposits. So what happens is if companies make, a not so great bet, like they did in 2008, if they do that again, FDIC will have to shell out a lot of money to them. But it won't have enough money left to deal with taxpayer deposits, which could, potentially be problematic. That's why some people are opposed to this amendment. It's a controversial issue. Yeah. Okay, I'll erase that. So the second big change in the Dodd-Frank Act, not in the Dodd-Frank Act, second big change, legislative change, the Omnibus bill, is the contribution limit. So there's a limit on how much one individual can give to political campaigns. Like, for example, this limit used to be $32,400. So previously, if you want to donate to the Democratic National Convention or the Republican National Convention, the maximum you could give was $32,400. But now this limit has been increased to, depending on how you interpret the law, it's been increased to $97,200 to $770,600. I think this means that we're going to see individuals can contribute a lot more money. So we'll be seeing a larger percentage of the money coming from a smaller number of individuals, as the rich are able to have more influence in political campaigns. And so sort of the third big legislative change in the Omnibus bill relates to the EPA, or the Environmental Protection Agency. As you can see here, their budget has been cut by $60 million, and their staffing also has been reduced. So they're at the lowest staffed levels since 1989. So I think, this bill, as you can see, big wins for the GOP. So, that's that with EPA. And then the Pentagon. Pentagon's an interesting story. So the Pentagon, this, according to the Omnibus bill, this year has a yearly budget of $93.8 billion. It's about an extra, $1 billion from last year. And so the interesting thing that happened, with the funding of the Pentagon was that the Navy, which is part of the Pentagon, the Navy asked, for certain defense missiles. However, the Pentagon officially did not ask for these defense missiles, yet the federal government granted. So the Navy wanted these missiles, but the Pentagon officially did not put this in its official request. However, the federal government still was able to grant the Navy these missiles that they asked for, even though the Pentagon didn't officially ask for it, which shows that it's sort of interesting in the ways that certain parts of the Pentagon are able to circumvent sort of the official administration. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. That's a summary and outline of the important sort of points in the Omnibus bill, and I hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching.